everybody here a quick breakdown of how Enhancement Shaman works as far as playstyle, priorities, rotations, and specific spell changes in Mists of Pandaria beta as it currently stands. Alright, there's a few changes, a few things are similar, but for the most part Enhancement's got a pretty solid overhaul. The spells are the same, but their effects and how they synergize with each other are different. Specifically for Enhancement, one of the big changes is Unleash Rage, which is now a passive buff that replaces Wind Fury Totem. It increases melee and ranged attack speed of all party and raid members within 100 yards by 10%. And it's just a passive bonus you get to Enhancement. Also within the Enhancement tree, Static Shock is now passive. It's no longer in the talent tree. When you use your Storm Strike or Lava Lash abilities while having Lightning Shield active, you have a 45% chance to deal damage equal to a Lightning Shield orb without consuming that charge. However, with all the changes, one of the most interesting changes I've found is the change to Lava Lash and how it interacts with a few other spells. What I mean specifically by this is that Searing Flames and Flame Shock now interact with Lava Lash in an interesting way. What Searing Flames is your Searing Totem, which used to stack up to 5 times and remain a static buff, and your Fire Elemental's attacks as well set their targets aflame, dealing 1,465 to fire damage over 13.72 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. So that stacking ability also now works for the Fire Elemental Totem. However, the difference now with Searing Flames is that your Lava Lash ability will consume your Searing Flames, and it'll deal 20% damage for each application on the target. Okay, so what this means for us is, it used to be priority was put down your Searing Totem first, make sure your Searing Totem's always down before you start doing anything else. What it looks like now is, that's still the case, you always want to have your Searing Totem down, but what you have to watch out for now is Searing Flames. Because anytime you use Lava Lash, you're going to consume your stack and do a burst damage with your Lava Lash. I've played around with it a little bit. I haven't had a chance to run the numbers and crunch the numbers on it yet, but it appears that the most effective use of this is letting Searing Flames stack to 5 before you use Lava Lash. So that means filling up your CD in the remaining time with other things, and this could knock Lava Lash down on the priority a little bit as far as rotation, and I think it's going to. The one thing I have noticed is that the Searing Flames debuff on the target that stacks to 5 times does stack fairly quickly, so we don't have to worry about that so much. A few other changes. Grace of Air is a new passive buff that we get as shamans, and what it does is an empowering wind swirl around the shaman, granting all nearby party and raid members 1042 mastery. Burning Wrath is now passive across all, which fiery elemental energy emanates from the shaman, empowering all nearby party and raid members and increasing their spell power by 10%. So basically what we're looking at here is totems were removed, okay? For the most part, buff totems were removed. The buffs were replaced by passive buffs, but that's not a bad thing. It frees us up as shamans to use other totems, and that's what I kind of want to get into now. You can learn specific totems in the talent tree, and this is quite cool. The first totem you can use is an Earth Totem with a 1-minute cooldown. It summons an Earth Totem with 5 health at the feet of the caster for 30 seconds. That grants the caster shield, absorbing 13,014 damage, and up to the additional 4,388 every 5 seconds thereafter. Now, I'm sure a lot of you remember the glyph that allowed us to bubble ourselves. That's not there anymore. They have replaced that with just straight up Stone Bulwark Totem, and it's your 15 level talent choice. Your other choices are Nature's Guardian and Astral Shift. I picked the Totem because I like the situational use of it, and it not being passive, and being a direct damage reduction spell as opposed to Astral Shift, which is a percentage reduction for 6 seconds. So I just like that one. The second tier of talents offers Frozen Power, Earth Crab Totem, Windwalk Totem. I picked Earth Crab Totem for enhancement. I figured for solo ability, this is great. I can see how somebody would pick something that helps a raid out more if you're raiding, if it's endgame and you're raiding, you know. Windwalk Totem seems like might be the way to go. It's an air totem with 5 health at the feet of the caster. Lasts 6 seconds. It's a 1-minute cooldown, and it grants raid members within 40 yards immunity to movement pairing effects. So this would be great for PvP. It could be good in some raid situations, you know, if there's a lot of slowing going on and you need to get out of the way. You know, I could see that. And then the other option is Frozen Power. Your Frost Shock now also roots the target in ice for 5 seconds. Now that is a great PvP talent. You know, it's a 5-second root ability that's passive on your Frost Shock. All you have to do is cast Frost Shock, and now the guy's slowed and rooted. I mean, that's a win-win right there. The next tier, of course, is the 45 level talents. Call of the Elements, Totemic Restoration, and Totemic Projection. For enhancement, I picked Totemic Restoration, and what that does is when a totem is replaced or destroyed before its duration expires naturally, its cooldown is reduced in proportion to the lost duration, up to a maximum of 50% of the full cooldown. So basically, if your totem gets killed, it doesn't take as long to cast it. So on some of those 5-minute cooldown totems, you know, you could have a 2.5-minute cooldown remaining as opposed to a full 5 when your totem gets destroyed. The other options are Call of the Elements, which is an 8-minute cooldown, and when activated, immediately finishes the cooldowns on all totems with a base cooldown shorter than 5 minutes. Totemic Projection relocates your active totems to a specified location, and it's a 10-second cooldown. Level 60 talents, you've got a choice between Elemental Mastery, Ancestral Swiftness, and Echo of the Elements. I picked Echo of the Elements. What this does is when one of your spells causes direct damage or healing, you have a chance to gain Echo of the Elements, duplicating that spell's effect. So if you heal or do damage via spell, you can duplicate that on chance. The reason I like this is because, as we all know, Enhance Shamans are a mix of spell and melee. And there's also passive healing that you can get as an Enhanced Shaman now from your wolves and things like that. And the stackability of heals for an Enhanced Shaman, especially soloing and leveling through the new content, is probably going to be the way you want to go. Well, you can use Healing Surge and Healing Rain while in Enhancement Spec. The only heals you can use are Chain Heal. If you're buffed for it, Cleanse Spirit, well, you know, you can glyph for that to make that also give you heal, but negating that, it's Chain Heal, Healing Rains, and Healing Surge. You don't get access to Healing Wave, Greater Healing Wave, any of the other healing spells that you would normally have in Resto Spec. It's still a good talent because it's a direct damage increase. You proc direct damage increase, you proc healing for solo ability, and I just think that in that tree, in the 60 level tree, that's definitely a choice you want to make as an Enhanced Shaman. Your other two options are Elemental Mastery and Ancestral Swiftness. Ancestral Swiftness, as we all know, is the 1-minute cooldown, and that's essentially replacing Nature's Swiftness, which your next nature spell with a base casting time less than 10 seconds becomes instant cast. The only other choice, or the only other bonus to that for damage, is it has a passive ability of increasing spell and melee haste by 5%. Now, over the course of a long fight, you know, end game, once they release the level cap to 90, I'll test that out and see if that 5% melee haste is better than the duplicating effect as far as raid bosses, dungeon bosses, heroic bosses, things of that nature. But for your basic grinding, 5% melee and spell haste isn't going to do much to help you down your average mob faster. I think the bonus to healing and the bonus to damage from Echo of the Elements is going to be a better choice. Of course, the other option is Elemental Mastery. Call upon elemental forces, which empowers you with 30% haste for 20 seconds. 30% haste for 20 seconds on a 2-minute cooldown, you know, situational. If you like on-use abilities that give you, when you want to use them, cooldown type things, so that you can macro in some like massive burst damage for, you know, finishing off a boss or for PvP purposes, you know, Elemental Mastery could be a choice for you. Just keep in mind it's 30% static haste for 20 seconds. The 75 level tree, has Healing Tide Totem, Ancestral Guidance, and Conductivity. The Healing Tide Totem is a 400 mana, 3-minute cooldown instant cast totem. It's a water totem. Has 10% of the caster's health. It spawns at the feet of the caster. The Healing Tide Totem pulses every 1.83 seconds, healing the 5 most injured party or raid members within 40 yards for 7,000. Basically, the 5 most injured people in your party are going to get Healing Tide Totem buff if they need it, which, you know, in a dungeon setting, it might help out the healer. But once again, I'm kind of building this around a DPS spec and trying to match that up as much as possible. I think the best choice in this tree is Ancestral Guidance. And what that does is when you deal direct damage or healing for the next 10 seconds, 40% of the amount is copied as healing to a nearby injured or party or raid member. It's a 2-minute cooldown. I think it would be great to pop. If you see the party's taking a lot of damage, you pop that cooldown. If not, you just pop it on yourself when you're soloing, and all the damage you're doing counts as healing. Well, not a direct interchange, but 40% of it. The other option is Conductivity. When you cast Healing Wave, Greater Healing Wave, Healing Surge, or Lightning Bolt on a target located within your healing range, allies standing within the healing range share healing equal to 20% of the initial damage or healing done. So what this means is if you drop healing rains and you're healing or casting Lightning Bolt, anybody that's in your healing range gets a percentage of your damage or healing done as a healing over the above and beyond what you're normally doing. You know, that's a great resto talent. It's maybe a good elemental talent with the Lightning Bolt thing. And if you 5 proc a Lightning Bolt, you know, that's great. But how often are you going to be breaking up your DPS rotation to drop healing rains? It just seems a little too situational for enhancement. So just a quick recap for enhancement. I believe the best choices right now, at least for me, are Stone Bulwark Totem at 15, Earth Grab Totem at 30, Totemic Restoration at 45, Echo of the Elements at 60, and Ancestral Guidance at 75.